In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a perfect schedule routine planner in order to build a perfect day or week. It is fully customizable. You can have different routines for different days. Because in a normal table, you have fixed time blocks for a day, which is a pain that this template solves. You have practical database views like a today view or a this week view. On top, you can create different versions and easily start from scratch, as well as restore old versions in the blink of an eye and so much more. So in the first chapter we will build the databases, and in the second chapter then we will build the dashboard. For those who don't know me, my name is Leon and I'm certified by Notion with all of their 3 badges, and here is the schedule routine planner. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video. So in this chapter I want to set up the backend with you together, so the databases we need. So first let's take a look at what it looks like on the left side where everything is built. So in the first call out you have 4 views. You have a view for today. Today is Sunday, and here, which is customizable, you will see this later, I have 8 work hours that I can use. Then you have a week view where you have all days of the week and the hours to work. In this case it's a made up schedule, and this time displays the hours that someone can spend on their side hustle. So in this case, from Monday to Friday it's 3 hours a day, and on Saturday it's 8 hours. The next view is an all-in-one view. You will see, because here we only have the hours and the day, and here below we have the real schedule, but this is very big. So here on the top we have an all-in-one compromised version. So we have 8 work hours on Sunday, and you can see here we have 3, here we have 2, which is 5, and so on. So you have a much smaller version of the schedule. On top you also have a all-in-one week view where you can see this for every day of the week in one view. So what is important for this? As you can see, these hours are customizable. You can decide what you want to be displayed. You can say work hours and hours you spend on, for example, your side hustle. You can also include the gym or other sport sessions. It's up to you, as well as the coloring. I went for red for the work, for breaks and stuff I went for gray, for gym and stretching I went for green, and for working and so on I went for blue, but this is also something you can change. Now let's get to the second call out, and here, as I said, we have the real schedule. So for example, for today we have everything that is now or upcoming. As you can see, here is a deep work block because this is the current work block that the person would be in right now. Then we have everything as its own entry that is upcoming. Then you have a normal today view, which includes everything from today, even things that already happened. So 8 till 9 is already past now. As well as the last view, which is a week view, where you have everything as a schedule with its own entries, but in a much bigger view. Now let's switch over to the right side and let's start building. So now here we are on the right side where we want to rebuild everything. So first we want to add a full page database, right / database, and then select full page. Then here we want to call this perfect week. And here we can also select an icon. In this case, I want to go for the week calendar. Now let's go back and also add our second database, and let's call this days and select the day calendar. Now let's get back to the perfect week database and let's start adding properties. The first one is a text property called time. The second one is a relation property which links to our days database. It's a two-way relation with no limit. The next property is a formula property called today, as well as another formula property called time. Now we also need a select property and call this area of life. Now we also need a formula property called work hours. Now there are two properties missing. One is a select property called draft and a checkbox property called archive. Now let's start configuring our select and formula properties. Now for today, I want to add the following formula. The formula says if the relation to the other database contains, and here we want to check if our days relation, so the relation to the other database contains, and here we want to format today in this format. And if we checked if this here in this format is contained in this array which we have here, we want to display either true or false, so it will be checked or unchecked. Then we can click on done, and let's move over to our time formula. Here also click on edit formula, and here we want to use the following formula. We again want to format the date. So in this case, we don't have today, which will give us today's date. We have now, which will give us on top of today's date the current time. So the time we have now. And here we want to also format this, but we only want to have the hours and the minutes. So not the day, not the month, not the year, only the hours and minutes. Then we have a comparison. We have a bigger than. And what is on the other side is a substring. So we have our string that we get, and from this we only want a part. And we do this by getting our time, which is, for example, 11, and then a double dot, and then 00, for example, for 11 a.m. And here for the substring of this time, we want to see if the length of the time is bigger than 5, and if the length of the time is bigger than 5, we want to go for 8, otherwise we go for 0. But let me actually show you this as an example. Let me paste something in here. Let's say I have my morning routine, and this takes place from 9:30 a.m. till 11 a.m. So 1.5 hours. Current now it's 10:56 a.m. So this is almost done, and we have Sunday today. So you can see this takes place on Sunday from 9:30 to 11 a.m. It's just an example. And you can see this is today. So this gets checked because you can see the days contains today in this format, which will display this as Sunday, and this is true. So today gets checked. For the time, it checks if this is already past, which is not the case. We have 10:56 a.m. So we are in this frame. Let me change this to 10. And now you can see it already passed because it's in the past. So you can see we check if the substring from time is smaller than the current time. So in this case, currently now is bigger than our substring, which means that time is unchecked. Now for area of life, I like to go for the following options. So in my thinking, for the area of life, you have private, business, work, or school. For example, a sport, for example, the gym is private. For example, a deep work block on your business is, of course, business. Then your work time is work. And let's say, for example, you studying is school. For stuff like morning routine or nighttime routine or lunch, I always keep the area of life empty. Now, for the work hours, I use this formula. I display in this case only my work hours that I work on the business, or in this case, this person only wants to display the work hours on the business. So in this case, I check for an entry if the area of life is business. You can also manipulate this and say or, and then we have this long thing. And what this basically does is it will take this time and displays the work hours. So let's say, for example, the morning routine, in this case, just for the sake of it, is business. Then we have 1.5 hours, and you can see 1.5 hours is displayed here. So we literally take the date between today, format this in this format, then we add the time as a substring, in this case the 11 a.m., which is the substring from 8 to 13, so from this to this, and format this as a date. So here we change the format type. Then we have the other component of the date between function, which is also today. We also format this in this case, but here we add the other time, which is 9:30 a.m., and also change this to a date format. Then we add minutes, so we want to have the minutes between today and then 11 a.m. and today and 9:30, which is 90 minutes. Then what we do is we divide this by 60 to get hours, which is 1.5, so 1.5 hours. And then we round with the factor 2, so we have this nice and tidy. The other way, if this is not business, we just display 0. So in this case, this is of course not business, so we display 0. Then for draft, we have different options. For example, option 1 and option 2. Let's say, for example, you are a student and you have your normal semester schedule, and then in your holidays you have another schedule. You can just create 2 different drafts, one for when you study and one when you have free, and you can change to this. So you don't have to delete the schedule, build a new schedule, and then rebuild it. You can just create 2 different options. I will show you what this looks like in a second. But now, first, let's go to our days database and also add properties here. First, we want to have a formula called work hours. Then we want a formula called schedule and a formula called day. Now let's once again configure our formulas. For work hours, let's add the following formula. We go in our perfect week relation. There we want to map our work hours. So in this case, it's 0. We only have one value here. And then we sum this. Let's say we have, for example, 2 deep work blocks in here, one that is 2 hours and one that is 3 hours. Then we want to map this. We currently have a block with 2 hours and 3 hours. And then at the end, we will sum this. So here we would then see 5 in total. This is what this formula is doing. Now for the schedule, we want to use the following formula. And here what we want to do is we want to build this compromised version, which I already showed you at the start, where you have your work hours and under that the schedule very compromised. So what we do is, in this case, you can of course rename this. I went here for the work hours on the side hustle. You can also change the naming of this. Then we once again go in the perfect week relation. Then we want to filter, we want to see where archived is unchecked, because we only want to display the current schedule, so not an archived schedule or an entry of an archived schedule. And then we want to map from these entries the current work hours and sum them up. So we have the entry at the moment, morning routine, which is not archived, so we get this, and then we want to get the work hours and sum them up, which is in this case 0. Then this is to create line breaks, so we have space between the text, and then we once again go into perfect week, filter, and look for the name, and that archive is unchecked. Then what we want to do is we want to map this, and we want to map the time of the entry, in this case 9:30 till 11 a.m. plus the name, which is in this case morning routine. And here we want to style this, and here you can change the way you want to do this. I also colored my area of life select options in the other database, and here I want to map this. So here I also color the business area of life blue, the private area of life green, and the work area of life red. And of course, here I forgot this, the school area of life in orange. Otherwise, I would display this as gray. Then what I want to do is I want to sort this so I have it in the right order, so I don't have like 10 p.m. till 11 p.m. above this one. I want the right order. After that, I use join with this symbol to get rid of the commas at the end of every entry. And once I do this, you will see this here, work hours 0, and then the entry. In this case, we only have one entry, and this is dynamic. So if I would add another thing to the relation, this will also get updated. So, and if you want to customize this, you need to change the name, and here you want to match what you want to, and here you can see this is something you need to change in the other database, which will already get updated here. And if you want different colors, you can manipulate this down here. Now for day, we want to add the following formula. We want to add this one. We want to check if the name, so this property, contains today in this format. So same as we did in the other database. In this case, it's true. Now the first thing I want to do now is I want to add all the days to this database. So now I have all my days added. So now I added everything to the perfect week database. You can now also stop this video and add all your entries to the database. Important is that time can't be like this. If the hour is 1 digit, you also need to add a 0. So always have 4 numbers, 4 digits for a time. So you always have 4 and 4. Then pick the days that you want this to happen on. Let's say, for example, let's take for example the gym. In this case, I decided it is from 5:30 to 8:15 on Monday till Saturday. So today it's not. Then choose an area of life, in this case private, and a draft. So in this case, this is an ideal schedule for this occasion. If this is, for example, your normal work schedule, this is fine. And then you can, for example, also add other entries and label them with option 2, which is, for example, your normal holiday schedule. So now let me adjust the size. So I want to make this here smaller. I want to make this smaller. This is something I want to expand, so it's only 1 row. I think this is enough. Then I want to make this smaller, this, I want to shrink this here, also this one, and this one. So now this looks way better. So now let's rename this view to active, give it this week, then sort by time ascending, filter by archived is unchecked, and then display all of these properties. So this is your active schedule. Now what we can do is we can simply duplicate this and call this archive. Here we also want to sort this by time, and we want to filter by archived is checked, as well as all properties visible. So now if I would add something, it would show up here. Then the next view we want to add is a board view. Let's call this today upcoming. For now, let's click on done. We will further manipulate this in a second. Then for the sorting, we want to go for time ascending, and then we want to filter, add an advanced filter, go for today is checked and time is unchecked. So only entries for today that are in the future or currently running. Then we want to group by today in this case, and we only want to see the following properties: name and time. So we have our schedule. Also, let's change this to the week view. And one thing I forgot is we also need to add that archive is unchecked, so we only get active entries. Then let's also duplicate this and call this today, because it's very similar. In this case, we want to adjust the filter and remove this, so we get our whole today view, also things that are in the past. So this is our whole schedule. Now let's also add another board view and call this week. Click on done. Once again, sort by time ascending, filter by archive is unchecked. Let's also change the icon, and for the grouping, group by days. So we have every day. Now what we need to do here is we need to manually create the order. We have Monday, Tuesday, this is Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So this is the right order. And now for the properties that are visible, we want to have the name and the time. So this is our view here. Now the last thing that we can do is we can add a conditional coloring. In this case, we want to say if the area of life is not empty, we want to match the option of the area of life. So now this is colored in red for work, gray if it is empty, green for private stuff, and then this looks really nice. Now we can also do that for today and today upcoming if you would like this. As well as what you can do is you can change the icons. For example, a sunrise for morning routine. For work, you can then select, for example, the green, the red check. For deep work, the blue check, and so on. So this looks a bit nicer. But now let's move on to the days database and also add the views here. As you can see, by the way, because we added new entries, this also got adjusted. So you can see they also appear here, and we can see 333, which is familiar because we had this in our displayed build on the left side. So the first thing we want to build is a week view of the type board. Here, select this calendar, click on done, and group by name in this case, which are the dates, and here once again manually sort them. So now we have the right order, and what you want to see is the name and the work hours. So now we can see for every day of the week the work hours. Now the next view, by the way, I call this view, this should be week, not view, and we can duplicate this, call this today. Then we need to group by day to only see today's day. Then filter is day checked, and the properties that are visible are name and work hours. Then we can just simply duplicate this, call this all in one day, and the only thing we need to change is we need to hide work hours and display schedule, so we can see today's schedule. The same thing we do for week, call this all in one week and hide this and display this, so we can see this for the whole week. And that's it for this chapter. Let's move on to the next chapter. In this chapter, I want to build the dashboard with you and show you some use cases. First, let's hide the databases by spamming enter. Now they are gone. And let's add a button, call this start from scratch. What this button should do is it should edit pages in. Now select our perfect week database and select archive is checked. So now this will set all our entries to archived, so we can start from scratch. Now under here, / callout, and here we can now add our views from the days database. Just select link view of data source, select the days database, then first select the today view. Let's hide this, then click on plus. You can select any of these because we want to select views that we already built. I always go for table. Then you can see, select the suggested source, in this case days, and select the week view. Now let's also do this for our all-in-one day view as well as our all-in-one week view. So now our first call out is ready. Now press enter under here, / callout to add another callout to the page. Here / link view of data source again, but here select our perfect week database and here select today upcoming as our first view. Hide the database title again, click on plus, table, perfect week, and select today as our second view. Now there is one view missing from perfect week, and that is our week view. So the whole schedule for the week. You can also, if this is too big for you, you can go in here and set the card size to small. Now this is way better. One thing that I forgot that you can also do for in the days database is you can give this an icon. In this case, for example, the white calendar icon, then everything will show up. Then everything will look like this at the top, which is way cleaner than this empty page. Now, this one, for example, is something that you can have on your normal home page in Notion. And this one is, for example, something you can show on a schedule or any page where you would normally add a table. You can replace it with this one, which is dynamic. These ones over here are some that you can add, for example, if you plan your day to see, okay, how many work hours do I have tomorrow? To see how many work hours you have tomorrow. Let's say, for example, I need to write a script for a video, which is 3 hours of work. I can see, for example, let's say this would be Monday. I can see, oh, on Monday, I usually spend, if the day is ideal, 3 hours. Then let me schedule the script for Monday and so on. So I can see how many tasks I can achieve in a day. You can also do this for the week if you do weekly planning, or you can use this for example, in your home page, or for example, if you have a second brain template or so, as a small reference widget for your ideal schedule. But let me know in the comments down below what you think of this, where you could place this or where you want to place this, or other use cases in regard to the template that I missed so I can improve this. But for now, I think you have a very strong schedule routine planner that is adaptive. So now, as I said, we have our active schedule. I could also add another one. And here it comes very handy. We have this start from scratch. So now everything is gone and we can start from scratch and now create another schedule. And if we want to re-add this, we can just select unarchive on every entry. And now we have our active schedule back without re-adding anything. So now you have a very powerful schedule that is adaptive and dynamic, so it can be different on every day without limitations. If you now want to also know how to build a very powerful grocery list, watch this video over here. Stay consistent.